Yo, let's talk about For Whom the Sweetie Belle Toils for a second. Alright, our first question is from Cindian Star, and they ask, do you think Luna does the dream thing because it's part of her job? Maybe Celestia gave her this role so she would feel the night is more important because of the dreams, or has Luna always just done this on her own?
It is my duty to come into your dreams. Oh yeah!
I'm gonna say job. My Sweet Shadow 55 asks, ever since the Showstoppers in Season 1, we've always assumed that Cutie Mark Crusaders' special talents would be their craftsmanship, singing, and stunts respectively, but in Twilight Time, and For Whom the Sweetie Belle Tolls, we see them practicing and succeeding in other talents. Do you think that this is a sign that the Cutie Mark Crusaders' talents aren't as cut and dry as we thought? I would like to think that. One of the biggest snafus of this entire series was revealing to us way too early what the Cutie Mark Crusaders' talents were, or at least heavily implying those to be the case. It took a lot of the wind out of the sails of the characters because their singular goal that they've been working for was completely revealed to the audience but not to them, and it was the biggest flaw in the episode of Showstoppers itself. So if the writers were slowly trying to retcon that episode and make their talents be something else entirely and not be what was implied in Showstoppers, that'd be fantastic because it'd bring the sense of awe and wonder and mystery to what the Cutie Mark Crusaders' talents will be back to their characters. Because for the last couple seasons, we've all been so fixated on that because it was so blatant and so heavy-handed that the mystery was gone. So if they bring it back, that make the characters even more interesting than they already are. Firecorn asks, given that we know Sweetie Belle has stage fright, does it seem logical for her to have been so eager to be acting on stage? I know that she's only stated she was nervous about her singing, but it seems odd that that's the only thing she was afraid of to do in front of a crowd. Yes, it's weird. I always assumed that it was just her singing, because again, like you said, that's what she stated. And even in Showstoppers itself, when she's singing to herself under her breath the Cutie Mark Crusader theme song, and Sweetie and Scootaloo come in, she kind of gets sheepish about it. So obviously there's something with her singing that she's weird about. But again, this show doesn't have tight continuity like that, so it's hard to hold something like that against the show, especially when there's a 4-season gap in between what we're talking about here and what we're talking about there. End of the day, probably not a huge deal, but I don't think that either A, the writers are probably thinking about that, B, the show is just not set up to have long-standing continuity like that as much as I would like it to, and C, the show seemed to state mostly that it was her stage fright when it comes to singing. Weird? Yes, but that's the best answer we have. Supermark Daily Motion asks, in this episode, Rarity is late on her work because of the lack of help. So, where is Coco Pamel? Wasn't she supposed to be here? Aren't you scared that she's never coming back? Well, I believe Coco Pamel was in Manhattan. She stayed in Manhattan to contract out Rarity's design work that she'd had set up with whoever she was able to pull the strings to get the last-minute tickets to Henny of the Hills, or whatever it was called. I barely remember what that show was called. I think it was Henny of the Hills. So Coco is still in Manhattan, so it's probably why she wasn't able to help with Rarity here in Ponyville. As to whether she'll return at all, I would like to hope so, but I'm not holding my breath simply because we have tons of one-off characters like that this season. Will they all come back in the finale for Rainbow Power fun? Maybe, I don't know, that'd be cool, but we'll have to wait and see. Anonymous asks, the name of this episode is a strong reference to Metallica's song For Whom the Bell Tolls. Do you like that they do references like that, or do you think it's too much? Actually, For Whom the Bell Tolls from Metallica is actually a reference to an Ernest Hemingway book of the same name. So if they're referencing Metallica, they're referencing a reference to Ernest Hemingway. I think probably the more logical thing to assume is that they're referencing Ernest Hemingway, since, writers referencing writers. At least that's my assumption. Brick Democracy asks, no Scooter parents show up to the play? She's got some serious no-account guardians. This was like our last chance this season. Yep, Scootaloo's parents are a no-show again. Of course, when you think about it, Sweetie Belle's parents were a no-show, even though we have proof that they live in Ponyville from last season during One Bad Apple. So, what's up with that? I don't know. Sisters and sisterly figures are apparently the only family you have because you can buy toys of them. I don't know. It's weird. But family is largely ignored in the show anyways, so that's pretty much par of the course. That's all I really got for this follow-up Q&A. If you guys liked it, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in a few days for the next video, and be sure to tune in tonight for Brony Breakdown if you're watching this the day it came out. Till next time, I'm Tommy Oliver. Stay curious.